What's up, everybody? Waiting for Alice to get on. There she is. We had a little technical difficulties with IG. Her live option disappeared, so we were going to do this interview on her page, but we're just going to go with the flow and uh, just do it on mine. And all things happen the way they're supposed to, so it's all good. Mm-hmm. Should be on any second. Boom.
Peri!
There we go.
And we're live.
We did it.
We
Wow.
did. Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, this is so funny. Well, we're on your page, so the people that are here right now are already major fans of you, Peri, and
Yeah.
so I just want to thank you for hosting this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. For anyone that doesn't know me, which you probably don't, I was gonna have Perry live on my page and do a Instagram live, an interview, because the beauty and the divinity that this sacred being holds, the way that he connects with the earth, with Pachamama, with the mother, the way that he creates, the way that he articulates, the way that he has that inner standing about just life and what it is to be here. I wanted to share that with everybody, and we had, like Perry said at the beginning, a little technical glitch. My live button disappeared, so it's meant to be the other way around, I guess. So
Yeah.
if anyone's wondering why I'm doing a lot of question asking and talking.
The floor is yours.
The floor is mine. Thank you so much. Oh,
Absolutely.
Perry, wow. You know, I was first introduced to you via a very dear friend, a mutual friend of ours, right, Jerome.
Hmm.
And I saw you on one of his interviews, and I was just blown away at your humility and your grace of being and of presence. Would you share with us just how how would you articulate, if you can, your connection with being here on this earth star? What is that? Yeah, how do you
Yeah.
see this connection?
So like being like how it's shaped and formed me till now, or
Yeah, however
okay,
you want to
so
take it, however it wants to flow through you.
my outlook on all this is um it's like one of those things where even as a child I was like my mind always wandered, I always I often tell people, even though my memory sometimes isn't the best now, but I can still remember being in my mom's womb. I still have like
Mm,
glimpses of it. And so even as a child, there was like this mystical part of who I was. This is going to sound absolutely crazy, but I remember seeing like fairies flying around my crib, talking to things that were there that would disappear when my parents, and all that stuff sounds crazy, but I actually remember that stuff and would probably be called
oh,
crazy. But even as
oh
a
no, I
child,
don't think that's crazy at all. I'm right there with you. I talk to the Fae all the time. I love it.
yeah.
Tell us
So
more, go on.
yeah, so as a child, we haven't been as manipulated, and we're still
Mm,
open, we're still clean to an extent, we're pure. And somewhere between there and now, you know, as we all know, we're starting to come to find out that there's a lot of programming that takes place,
mm,
unbeknownst our parents, unbeknownst, sorry, our parents being aware of that. And the definitive line there is drawn between the time I can remember being a child and having that wonder of the world to being thrusted into this,
mm.
you know, not that there weren't good times, but it was a lot of trauma that was built up between a certain age to now. And I'm very in touch with that and remember a lot. And now that I've come to awareness, and it's to the forefront of who I'm trying to find out who I am, even now,
Mm,
and what I've found out so far, everything's starting to come together and make a lot of sense for me. So
wow.
um, even now, I view this earth even as a child, it's like a playground, really. Like I had a great childhood. Had friends. We all played outside, all used our imaginations. And at some point, we lose that. And often I didn't lose it, but I got distracted. And
Mm-hmm.
but I've always seen this realm as really a place to have fun until you're told told otherwise. And so,
And and you
go ahead.
do, like you see it in all of your posts. Like every post that you put up is just so colorful, and your expression of what you're
Hmm.
experiencing is just so different, to well, especially to the mainstream, but just to even others who are kind of they're on this spiritual path, but the faith and the trust that you have. I love that you said it's like a playground, right?
Hmm.
Because when you have a child who, maybe the three, the four, something like that, they really have no fear. They just they do whatever they want to do, and they don't even worry about consequence because they know that they're safe.
Hmm.
And that is something that, wow, as adults, we lose that, right? We kind of
Yeah.
have this indoctrination. And what I love about that analogy of the playground is like, you have found a way to not be afraid of what could be out there, and just to be like, is it that you're just so present? What is it?
Um, so my character in this play is very in
Mm,
touch with his emotions. So there's a lot of times
mm.
that there's even in my astrology chart, I have opposing signs. I'm a Pisces Virgo. Uh,
Are you?
so I get
Sorry,
that.
I shouldn't laugh.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a very ironic character because it's like a constant working against. But if you get that part sorted out, it works for you. So it's like that no BS type situation. Like what happens in my inner world, definitely, without a doubt. Not saying it does with anybody, but with just my signs, literally, it has to work that way for me or it's not going to be so good on the
So,
outside. So,
so is Pisces your sun or your moon?
sun, yeah,
Is
Pisces sun,
it
yeah,
a
and Virgo
Pisces
moon,
sun?
yeah.
Wow, and I love that because that Virgo energy, that virgin energy, that purity energy is so connected with the Divine Mother anyway, right? It's like the
Hmm.
mother, it's like it is the mother and the lover of the whole zodiac, right? So to
Absolutely,
have that represent in your moon
yeah,
really does connect with the emotion and the inner workings, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And I feel
Wow,
deeply, as
wow.
you already know, like a lot of people I know can't feel that from like they can't get inside of me and feel that, but
Mm,
um, very emotionally intelligent to almost to a fault sometimes because I've become
mm,
too sensitive, so
yeah.
there's this inner working of balance I mean that's what it is. I mean literally when you have opposing signs, that literally what your
Yep.
life is finding the balance between the inner world that helps create that balance in the outer world. And so
Yeah.
even like you said, the Virgo representing the divine mother,
Mm,
um, being that I'm also a Pisces, and Virgo represents the Mary, right? And so
mm-hmm.
Pisces represents the sun, which would be what we
Yes.
would call Christ or Krishna. I'll
Mm-hmm.
equate that,
Yeah.
to this
Horus.
astrology. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
also Cancer. Cancer is the mother. She's the what I would
Mm.
call like the physical mother or the material mother, the matter, your matter. So even in my sign, there's this unique symbolism of what my life is to me
Mm.
as my own personal book. And
Yeah.
so just those three signs adding up to those very specific things, um, I'm seeing it how it's unfolding in my own life and
Mm.
learning about who I am because that's what we're here to do is to know thyself, not to worry
Yeah.
about
And
what
be
other people
true,
say.
right?
Yeah.
Know
And
thyself and
so,
be true, be free.
yeah. So,
Yeah, brother. Wow. Because, oh gosh, there are so many different ways we can take this conversation. And when you just kind of like, there's such an abundance around you, it's like, oh, what should we juggle with? What should we play with? And I just want to invite people in the comments as well.
yeah,
You may know Perry's story a little bit more, but if you do want to ask questions, please feel welcome, right? We want to engage with you. We want to see what you want to know as well.
absolutely.
Um, because like, that. that truth, that knowing thyself. I remember last time I saw you on a video where I was like present with you, where I was live with you. We were doing a extended, well, it wasn't that long of an extended in comparison to what you've done, but
Hmm.
it was a 4-day dry fast, right? We were doing this Breatharian weekend,
Hmm.
and you had just finished an incredible 9-day dry fast. You
Hmm.
just finished that. You were rebuilding, and the way that you allowed the emotion, the sensation of the connection that you had found with yourself, and you expressed that to us, it was so moving and so deep. And there would not be many who would have the courage
Hmm.
to show what often people refer to as a vulnerability, right?
Hmm.
And it was just so powerful, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
How do you, yeah. How do you experience that? How have you found to how have you got to know yourself better through anything? It doesn't have to be dry fasting, but what
Yeah.
practices do you do to know yourself? Yeah.
Fasting was a huge one for me, even
Yeah.
in the religious parts of my life when I was growing up. I was a pastor's son, which a lot of people know. And
Mm.
so fasting was one of those things that was talked about a lot, although they weren't as what was deemed to be extreme now, which we were finding out that's not. But often I would hear stories of Christ
Mm.
fasting, and some of the prophets, in order to reach or even talk to the divine, they had to fast. They had to
Yeah.
go within, and they weren't allowed to eat because there's certain ways that certain things work, in order to
Hmm.
get to a certain place, right, frequency wise. And so, although I didn't know the significance then, it was almost like a practice that was starting to happen in a early time in my walk, that was building a foundation for what I did not too long ago. And so
Mm.
discipline for me has been something that's come very easy, but it's
Yeah.
also, on the other hand, a slippery slope, because
Mm.
again, the balance thing is huge for me. So if it tips one way, it can get out of control, and then if it tips the
Yeah.
other way. And so that's why transition, and we're starting to learn transition from one type of life of density to another life of being light. And then all the stuff we've been kind of shown that's negative about how we actually heal versus what we actually get, um,
Mm.
has been skewed. And so, um, being able to work through those things, I was already kind of an emotional person. Like I had a mother who was always, okay, I was a safe place for me to go talk. Like I always
Mm.
trusted my mom, no matter what. Not to say I didn't my dad, but the mother son relationship was huge. Like in any really birthing, the mother always has that significant relationship with the child that the father really just doesn't have. That's just the way it is. Like,
Yeah.
because you grew inside of this, and it's something, this woman, a mother to you that actually knew you before the world did. When
Yeah.
people talk about God and numbering the hairs on your head, and knowing how many hairs are on your head, like, if you really look at it, it's the mother that
Yeah.
knows that, because the mother has a direct connection to that. So going through this dry fasting period really started to open up my eyes to the stories and mythologies and stuff that you hear in scriptures or text of whatever it
Mm.
be. And as I started to explore this, not only starting out as a health thing more than a spiritual thing, but
Mm.
as I started to pay attention to my stomach area, which is where we generate a large portion of our our energy,
Mm.
and being that my sign and moon is Virgo, that plays
Mm-hmm.
an important part, because that not only works within my physical material being, but also my spiritual, in that
Mm-hmm.
Virgo represents the mother and the womb and being safe. And so I had that as a child, and only to beat that, my mother was a Pisces and my dad was a Virgo.
Oh, that's so funny. I love how that
Uh,
happens, right? Like it's I've started to notice that it's when I talk to people about their charts, and and what their parents' charts are, I've started to notice that more and more, that there's kind of like an inverse of your own signs within your
Yeah.
parents. And I find that so fascinating. I'm like, wow, there really is no such thing as a coincidence.
No, not
Everything
at
is
all.
so precision chosen. It's like
Yep.
you just couldn't make any of it up whatsoever.
Nope.
And I like how you were. Oh look, so we've got Botanica 7 saying, but where's it gone? That comment. Your eating habits stem from your parents, and I love
Absolutely.
that you actually started to talk about how you got onto fasting,
Hmm.
for health reasons. And I know
Hmm.
people have probably heard this story a few times before, but if anyone is new, could you share with us a little bit how you were eating before and how that was nourishing you,
Hmm.
and how your body has started to heal itself and dispel myths around healing from the outer world? Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
As earlier in childhood, I never ate a lot. I ate
Mm.
oatmeal. I remember that my parents often talk, you like, you never ate. You were always kind of small, da da da. But I had tons of energy. I was ready. And
Yeah.
as time went on, you start picking up, like the brother said, the habits of your mother and father,
Mm.
and food was a huge thing in my family, like it is in most families, right? And so, being a pastor's
It's a
son,
legacy,
church,
isn't it, food?
yeah, everything revolves around this thing called food. Like literally, the whole life, aside from even a job or anything, revolves around food.
Yeah,
And
for real.
and so, like over the years, there's the Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we eat
Mm.
those things, and then you got processed food coming on the scene. I was born in '82, so a lot of the things that we see now, we didn't see then, but it was
Mm.
kind of the entry part to where we're starting to get introduced to convenient food,
Mm.
which we call processed food. And so, you know, my parents did the best they could, but like most of all parents during this time, um, of what I call, like, where everybody was just doing the same thing, and there was maybe a few people that were crazy conspiracy theorists or whatever you want to call them, or people that were actually even doing what the body is supposed to be doing. Everybody's
Yeah.
just kind of going with the flow. And
Mm.
so I ate terrible.
Mm.
Even then, I huge meat, meat 3 times a day, maybe more.
Mm.
Chips, Captain Crunch, Cinnamon
Yeah.
Toast Crunch, eggs, bacon. Me and my family, we ate breakfast together every single rising
Mm.
as a child.
Yeah.
My dad would fix breakfast and my mom would fix dinner. And
Mm.
so, even in this play of mine, the dance between, I call Beauty and the Beast, within my eyes, between my dad and my mother and my dad, I'm not calling him a beast. I'm just saying, consciousness wise, I'm watching this play out as a child, even the balance
Yeah.
within my parents, because not knowing then, it was a part of who I am, and actually what my signs were too, now that I do know that. And so, being that food was huge in my family, I had a couple of relatives, an uncle and a grandfather, or two, no, a great uncle and my grandfather on my mom's side, were both chefs, and they both had restaurants. So it's
Mm.
something that ran in my blood as well. And so as I got older, it kind of translated into my life in that
Mm.
I had a full-time job, but I started taking a love for barbecue. So I started to get on the smoker and smoke up some wings and pulled
Yeah.
pork, you name it, I did it.
I bet your neighbors and your friends loved you. They were like, "Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
we're going around his
yeah,
house. He's
absolutely.
got a barbecue going."
Yeah, they love me a lot
American
more.
dream.
Yeah, they love me a lot more then than they did now. Not to say, but what I have to offer, they're like, I don't want, what are you gonna give me, some carrots now? And I'm
Yeah,
like, no, it's not like that. But yeah, everybody thought I was crazy because, you know, it was
because
a
you
good
listen to your
thing.
body.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
enjoyed it,
yeah.
but at the end of the day, I have to say, even in the back of my mind, I knew that what I was doing was wrong. There was always
Mm.
these little um, places of clarity, even in the times that I was not cleaned out and healing, that I had
Mm.
these feelings like, was what I'm doing right? And am I really
Mm.
like, and now that I'm becoming aware of this, that I'm actually serving people something toxic. Like when I started to change the way that I was eating, but still ran the food truck, I thought I could do that, juggle doing
Mm.
this for myself, but still selling people death. And it was like a short time like literally weeks after I had that thought, and I was like, man, I can't even do this anymore because I'm
Yeah,
now
for real.
liable. I'm now liable because through the awareness that I'm serving these people crap. And so that was a direct reflection, not only as me as a person, but also as, am I building up something I don't, do I want to reap something I don't want to sow from? Because now
Yeah.
that I know that I'm doing that, so
It's like,
naturally,
how do you even like kind of balance that out in your mind as well and in your heart? You're just like, no.
yeah.
It's like once it's gone down to the heart and you've seen it through the eyes of the heart, you're just like, uh-uh. And it's just like, we've got a couple of people commenting here. We've got Simplicity,
Mhm.
I Am Divine, from Pit Master to Plant Master, absolutely. And oh, where's that comment gone? I can't scroll it, but there's oh, Botanica 7 was saying about the emotions that you feed, right, with the food. And
Yes.
I don't know about you, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this, but now I've started dry fasting. And when I go from not having any food or any water in that particular form, and
Hmm.
nourishing from lighter forms of prana,
Hmm.
if I even have like the first, even if it's raw veg, the first solid food that I have afterwards, I feel, like Botanica 7 was saying, I feel all this like anger and this emotion from my belly coming out because I've had this solid food. And I'm like, oh
Hmm.
wow, my body is like really saying, please don't put that in me.
Yep.
And it's like, and it's something that's, it's raw, it's organic, and still it's like, wow, okay, that's a big response, body. But I'm glad I can hear it. Wow, what do
Hmm.
I do with that? Do you find that as well? Because I gotta tell you, I've made one of your recipes.
Hmm.
What do you call it? You have the seaweed wrap and you put all this amazing goodness in it,
Oh
and it's
yeah.
just delicious. I had like a week of making those because it was just, they were delicious. So
Yeah.
I had those for a week because they were just so good.
Yes. I
But
think
do
I
you
call it the
find that
fatty.
the fatty,
Yeah.
it was like trying to roll it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's
Yep.
busting out the sides.
Yep.
But do you find that when you because you still create food for others, do you?
Yeah, still do.
Yeah.
And I've actually
Yeah.
started eating myself a few times a week. And what
Yeah.
I'll say about the emotional part of it, to kind of tie it
Mm.
back into the other, is like once you realize how synonymous birth is to actually being out of the womb and into another,
Mm. Yeah.
the way we connect with our mother was we were fasting the whole time in the stomach. We don't eat,
Yeah.
people do say that, the mother feeds through the, um, our belly button, which is our,
Hmm.
really only birthmark that we all have.
Mm.
It's not, it's in the form of liquid, it's not solid. Her body
Yeah.
breaks it, and then there's the drinking of the amniotic fluid,
Hmm.
which is basically urine. And so when you look back at what it was like a child, we're literally children now. We've been taken
Hmm.
so far apart, so far away from our natural mother, which is our, which we call Mother Nature, Gaia, or Mother Netter. There's all different names. But when you learn that, here, how do I put this together? As a child, you depend on the mother
Mm.
involuntarily. You have to depend whether she's putting good stuff in or bad stuff, right?
Yep.
And so there's still a certain type of love there, regardless of the ignorance of whether they're putting something good or bad. What I'm concentrating on is the surrender the baby has in the
Mm.
womb. And so this is something that I experienced as I started getting deeper into dry fasting, is my connection back to our mother, not our physical mother, but, and so once I started putting the pieces together and she kept speaking to me so clearly, when you're an empty vessel, you get things so clearly. But
Yeah.
you begin to realize you're being fed from her. So all this food, all these emotions are things built up that should have never even taken place, but our need for her. I always say Eden is an anagram for need. Like we need to
Mm.
get back to the Garden of Eden, because she wants us to want her, just like any mother would want her child to want her. So when we supplement her protection and her offerings for what I call the stepdaddy, which is the government. I always call them the stepdaddy because they
Mm.
come in and sever the tie between
Yeah.
mother and child. And so
Have
when I
you read that book, Coming of the Holy Grail?
I have not, but I've heard of it.
Have you? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it speaks a lot of what you're talking about. But anyway, carry on. Sorry, it's a
Yeah,
great
no
thread.
problem.
Carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the emotional, I've always been okay with my emotions. My parents always encouraged me, it's okay to cry. I saw my dad cry as a child. He was very emotional too. Being Virgo, he never really, there was times he showed it. A lot of times they keep it in. He wanted to be a tough guy, but there was times he let it out in front of me, and it was good for me to see that. And so
Yeah.
even my mother, was a safe place for me to be emotional. But as you start to get away from that into seeing the what I call the all parents, but the connection with mother that we have with Matter Netter or
Mm.
Matter, is that I cried so much because I got to experience what it's like to be truly sovereign, not taking
Yeah.
food in, not taking any
Mm.
sustenance in, but aside from what we are allowed for free, which is air.
Mm.
And they're slowly trying to take over water. But even the fact that the biggest organ on our body we ignore, which is our skin and our hair, that those things are
Hmm.
constantly taking things in. But if our bodies are so dense and the mechanics of the body's blocked up, then it can't receive anything from what we would call mama. So
No,
as go
yeah, no,
ahead,
sorry, go
you're
on. I
good.
know, I was just
No.
gonna say this, I'm gonna repeat what Botanica 7 is saying here. This is a high level conversation. I'm
Yeah,
like, yeah, it is. But because
yeah.
like the acknowledgement that you're giving to your birth parents, right, your earth parents,
Hmm.
and the connection that you're making here, it's so it just it completely gobsmacks me. I don't know if you have that word there, maybe bit of an English word. It's really
Uh-huh.
it gobsmacks me to kind of like, you know, recognize the perfection in how we choose, who we're born within, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
From whose womb we arrive, and really every single womb on this Earth star is connected with that cosmic divine mother anyway, because we are all children of
Hmm.
her in some regard. But the perfection of the individualism, right, of each beautiful soul
Hmm.
incarnate and who we choose to be around us as we're growing through that space and time, it's
Hmm.
such a foundation,
It is.
right? And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm in awe
It's,
of your connection with your emotions, right? And it's
yes.
beautiful,
And
sacred.
even and it's something you can't even hold back, because once you
Yeah.
feel the mother's love, it's
Mm.
overwhelming. Like even during that class when I was breaking down crying, like I couldn't stop. Like there was no
Ah.
stopping until it was time to stop. So it was like, you know
Mm.
what? I don't even care right now. Like
Yeah.
because what I was saying was honestly coming from the heart, and
Yeah.
with being an expert through the experience. I'm not, I've still got mad work to go to where I'm
Yeah.
going, but it's happened in leaps and bounds for me, and everybody's situation is different, and uniquely different.
Hmm.
But once we realize there's another force out there that deeply cares about us, even more than our, you know, biological parents, that
Mm.
there's something else going on here, and we've been sold a bunch of crazy stuff because we're so powerful, and sovereignty
Yeah.
truly is our birthright, and everything's
Hmm.
been done to take it away. But through the emotions, even the emotional letouts that I had even as I was fasting, because you're super sensitive to things when you're as like
Oh,
especially like
so sensitive. Like you
days
can
in.
feel just everything.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I see a lot of sound.
Hmm.
Like, especially when I'm kind of in that sensitive space. So any morning or evening, I can hear the next door neighbor. I can see and feel them
Yeah.
closing a door, even if it's lightly. And, if anyone's ever experienced something like that when you're dry fasting, specifically dry fasting, right?
Hmm.
It's like that expanded all around you, isn't it? It's like you feel and connect with the life force, the prana,
Hmm.
as beautiful soul just said earlier. I can't scroll the comments. Ah, there we go. Oh no, wait. Scorpio God, was it?
Yeah. What's up,
1111,
man? What's
saying
up,
the
Vinny?
yeah, saying the prana, and it's like
Yep.
you feel
Yep.
that, and you become a part of it, right? So
Absolutely.
everything they're going through, even if it's a plant, You
Hmm.
know, it doesn't matter. It's consciousness and prana that we're connecting with. That's a part of us. And
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
yeah.
beautiful thing. And the whole life
Mhm.
revolves around breath. I mean, that's the one thing you can't
Yeah.
take away or you actually die. You can take away food, you can
Mm.
take away water, but if you take away somebody's breath, it's over. It's game time. That's the animating force itself that's
It is.
keeping
It's a
everything
God
going.
force.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the was it the monks there who is it where they've learned to, and this is what would happen, my understanding anyway of you know my comprehension of what would happen in ancient times for the masters is that, you know, when they were practicing the rites of immortality, they would go for maybe 5 years or 10 years into this state of, well, essentially, if anyone was to come across them, they would think that they were no longer here because it
Hmm.
didn't seem like they were breathing, but they were breathing through their cells.
Yep.
They were breathing through their skin instead of their mouth and their lungs.
Mhm.
Have you come across that?
Yeah, I have quite a bit. I
Yeah.
was studying hermits a lot because I have a secret little thing for wanting to be a hermit just to
Yeah.
experience it, you know, but
That's
outside
the
of
Virgo
that,
in you, maybe.
yeah. So it's like to see them be able to do it. And actually, I did a little bit of a study on it because frogs do the same thing right before
Do they?
winter. Yeah, they go into a state of like kind of like hibernation, but they like everything in their body is almost still going, but it's
Mm.
like this like a boat gets winterized. You know,
Yeah.
its blood does a certain thing, and the cells in the body start doing a certain thing, and it's able to withstand. It's like a meditation, is how they put it, and
Mm.
they meditate throughout the winter. And you know, I often thought about it because you know, with the zodiac being a huge clock, right, and
Mm.
they call it the clock
Yeah.
of destiny because there's beginnings and ends and destructions and rebuilding. And so these monks always go to the top of the highest mountains, right? And they go through this process of being able to feed off of prana and to be self-sustaining as a system itself without any
Yeah.
outside help. So to me, what I felt is the same way that the frog gets ready for winter is the same way we get ready for whatever's getting ready to come upon us.
Hmm.
Because as we start to see that the earth's making changes, powers that be or whatever are manipulating it to make profit, to create,
Mm.
you know, whatever they do. And that's
Yeah.
an undoing because you know, we know who gets the last call and everything. And for those people that are putting in the work, and like these monks that go at the top of the mountain, if something works to happen, like a deluge or a cataclysm, these would be the people that would be in what would be the new earth because
Yeah.
they heed the warning. They've been doing the
Hmm.
practice, and so
Yep.
when this time comes, they're either already up on the mountain because it's their routine and their life, or their bodies are
Well, they heard
prepared
it.
and yeah, their bodies are prepared and have a memory
Hmm.
of being able to do that because you know, say something happens and I have to go without food for 9 days. Well, my
Yeah.
body now has the memory and the experience
Hmm.
to call back the 9 days, which builds
And this is,
confidence
yeah, and this is the, and builds trust, right?
and trust. Yes.
Yeah, because like you said, this memory within ourselves, within our DNA, you know, we have such advanced memory that it's all there, right? You know, as you just
Mm-hmm.
said, it's just building that confidence, building that trust, building that kind of that repetition, that muscle memory, that cellular memory, right?
Yep.
And it's like it's kind of like quantum entanglement, isn't it, really?
Mm-hmm.
Where, you know, one particle over here is doing one thing, and then because of the focus point of that, you know, another particle elsewhere will be doing the same. So it's like when, oh gosh, I was listening to a podcast today, and they were talking about this thing that they noticed with monkeys. You've probably heard this because it gets spoken about a lot. Where there were these monkeys that loved sweet potato, right? They
Mm-hmm.
loved sweet potato, but the sweet potato was covered in sand, and they didn't like the sand. And all of a sudden, this group of monkeys started realizing, oh, they could wash the sweet potato. So they started doing that. And then across the world, everyone started noticing that monkeys elsewhere, obviously, they don't have any technology, any phones, any way of communicating
Mm-hmm.
other than this quantum entanglement or other than telepathy and cellular memory. They all started like a ripple effect,
Yep.
right? You know, they started practicing the same thing, right? And this
Mm-hmm.
is like what we're doing as well. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
speak of those who are go to the top of the mountain or practicing the things that, you know, you're practicing, right?
Yep.
But that is unlocking within everyone else. This is the collective,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yep.
know, effort as well. It's like leading the way. It's, you know, it's setting the vibration.
Yep.
And for others
It's,
that are nowhere near there, that's okay. But they will blossom when they're meant
yes.
to, if they're meant to in their own path,
Yep.
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
like you just said, like as we are the cells in the body of
Yeah.
this creator, you know, everything is on its level, whether it be
Mm.
on the macro or the micro. All things happen on the micro before the macro. So
Mm-hmm.
as things are happening, it's happening on all levels, you know. And so it's a beautiful thing to watch because doing the work of the hive is doing your specific work. You know,
Mm.
how you help the
Yeah.
collective is helping you. And then
Yeah.
what you find is that you just see other people in the collective that are helping themselves that are like, oh, we're on the same page. And at
Yeah.
some point, that has to be a bingo for people that this is a true thing. This is a truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people say, well, there's no such thing as truth or lie, but there are some absolutes. And
Yeah.
on this realm, unless the absolutes are manipulated through being able to be clean and be able to harness the
Mm-hmm.
power that we have as the universe, until we get to that point, doing the self work for ourselves is what's helping the collective. Because I often find it amazing that I'm like this philosophy, religion. When I say religion, I know the science part of religion and the way I
Mm.
grew up through the experience, now being, you know, coming into a teacher student role,
Yeah.
is that I'm starting to see these little things that I once thought were like these real stories, but they're not real stories. The allegory behind the story is real, but these
Mm-hmm.
things are pointing to the inside of how things happen to us. So as we do this self work, we do the work of ourself. Um, we're ultimately joining forces with the whoever the creators wanting to wake up, because ultimately we, even if we influence somebody,
Mm.
there's something within that person that made them go out of their way to
Yeah.
go look for it. And so there's this
Yes.
dividing line of people that go look for it, and some people that just stay where they are on this course of their school
Mm.
journey. You know, being that we're in a school,
Yeah.
this might not be them right for them right now, but it's something that eventually gets put in that memory bank. Like you said, we all are all memory. Everything that
Yeah.
these people try to attack are memory, whether it be longer, like shorter videos, shorter, you know, stuff that gets the attention span short, because they're trying to change things out through generations because they know how the body works. And
Yeah.
so if they can
For
tamper
real.
with your memory, then you no longer have a way to recall anything. And that's
Mm-hmm.
very, very dangerous, because you start looking at tampering with the what people say that they are in limbo, but it's the limbic system,
Mm-hmm.
which controls that survivalist, what they would call your reptilian brain or your animalistic
Mm-hmm.
brain, and coming out of the carnal into life. And that's all these scriptures and stuff talk about, is just
Mm-hmm.
a revelation from being born to revelation. You know,
Yeah.
because Genesis, starting in the genitals where Genesis happens, you know, the regenerative system, you
Yeah.
know, and then you think the Bible as being a book, but not only a person, because we both have two sides. We have a spine just like a book. We have an
Yeah.
old and a new way of thinking, right?
Just
And
joking.
so when we think about these things, and even the word testament meaning mind and body, testy meaning like
Mm.
testicles or ovaries,
Mm.
being
Mm-hmm.
that when people give their word, right? Their
Mm-hmm.
word, they use like, you know, they go for the testes, because that was a way of showing that you could trust me, right? But it's also the regenerative
Mm-hmm.
place, which was broadly known as a place of power, right?
Yeah.
And so you got a place of going from a baby to revelation to knowing something, you know? And so
Mm.
it's back to what I was saying. Sorry, I didn't mean to get on a tangent, but
Yeah, no, we love it.
me being a
Yeah.
chef and being able to know that there's a mind and gut connection not
Mm-hmm.
only am I the philosophy and teacher, but I'm the person that can open the person's mind by bypassing arguments and going straight to the stomach to clean them out, because they will not
Yes.
listen to you until they're
Yes.
clean. So I have a double weapon. Like if I want people to listen to me, all I got to do is,
Feed them
make my
clean.
food, yeah, give them food and entice them with what I got. And as they start to, their body starts to realize and starts to
Yeah.
wake up of the memory of what food really is, then you
Yeah.
start to wake up about what things really are.
So let's talk about food just for a little bit here. Actually, I have two questions. I got a curious one that I'd love to hear I'd love to hear your perspective on. For people that have allergies to food, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like, what do you feel that is?
I
Especially if
think
it's like a
it's,
vegetable or especially if it's something clean like a vegetable or something like that, you know?
yeah, I really think
Yeah.
it's the agricultural
Yeah.
practices that cause that. To me,
Mm.
it's not normal for people to have these certain allergies.
Hmm.
And depending on like there's so many factors. What our mother ate, what
Yeah.
we were exposed to, what she is, because they attack the child while it's still in the womb. They get
Yeah.
to it before it comes out, even
Yeah.
before
Well,
you
it's like
know.
you said, it's the mind gut, right?
Yeah,
Whatever mama's having to eat, baby's having
yeah,
to eat as well. So whatever fears and ego is being consumed by the gut, right,
yep,
is going into baby to help form the personality and the lower ego, right?
yep, exactly.
From
And
the
it goes as
get-go.
far
Mm.
to be the thought pattern when you were being
Yeah.
conceived.
Hmm.
Because the thought is what we think is like thought as a pen, or your pineal, because
Mm.
where thought is seemed to be or come from. You like the epiphanies, and how you think is
Uh-huh.
from the mind. And so when you think about how a pen writes down things and creates things through words, so does the mind. So there's
Mm.
all these different factors, is what I'm trying to say. And
For
once
real.
we become aware, which, in scriptural text, a baby considered um, liable for its own life. Not to say that it doesn't get taken care of, but
Mm.
at the age of 8, because at the age of 8, well, I'll say this: accountability.
Mm.
Because at the age of 8, what that's saying is the baby's body is now ready to operate without the mother's help, whether it be
Mm.
breastfeeding, its organs are fully grown, and la la la
Mm.
la, and then the parents are there to guide and correct whenever there needs to be correction, whatever that looks like. So
For
um,
sure. So
so
should we? Sorry, no, go on. No, go
no, you're
on. Go
good.
on. Go
But I
on.
was just going to
No.
say, like, as you see with what we put in our bodies, how these traumas
Mm.
start even before we're born and collected as we go through. So, yeah, that's all I
Mm.
wanted to say, is like that could lead up to allergies. I could lead up
Oh no, I
to
love that.
all
I
these
love that so
diseases.
much. I always love hearing other people's interpretation of their own understanding of things, And
Hmm.
let's talk about food just for a little bit. We've got just short of 10 minutes left
Okay.
before we get to the o'clock, and not that time governs us or anything like that, but
Yeah, that's all good.
um, um, you are a wizard, an alchemist in the kitchen. In my opinion. In my
Yeah.
opinion. What's the most like how do you okay, two questions. For anyone that is on this pranic path that wants to be more conscious with food, how do you know what to eat? How do you know whether to go dry, whether to have juices, whether to have a mono juice, just water, to
Hmm.
create something raw, to create something vegan? How do you know what to do on which day? How do you know what is going to be most nourishing for you? When do you make that decision?
For me personally, I do
Yeah.
everything intuitive, and I
Mm,
and I suggest that to other people as well, because that's what we're trying to reconnect, is our own trust with our own body. So what rightly is right for me might not be for somebody else, but there's a guideline that could be laid, right? And so really, as we know and as we research, that the more hydrating things are better than the more dense and things that actually take hydration from us. So
mm,
um, as I was going through, I'll just share, when I went from um, cooked plant-based food to more of raw, what I did was ease my way into it by, intermittent fasting till noon a lot. And if I did eat breakfast, it was something raw, or it was
mm,
something that had a lot of hydration. and that helps to help facilitate the rest of the digestive system as it continues to digest all the way up until noon. A lot of people think that, it stops right when you wake up and it's time for breakfast. Like the body is still digesting a lot of times when we're breaking fast, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
as you start to change these things and start to basically coax your body into going back to the way it should have been, and it now
Mm.
sees that you're trying to help it live instead of destroy it, it almost is a self-recognition after some point where your body will just tell you what's right for you, and it'll
Mm.
let you know what it is, because you'll start seeing certain things pop up. Because when I would eat cooked in the evenings, I would eat cooked plant-based, but I could tell a difference between the times that I ate raw after like a month or so. Even I could tell. And the mucus, like I would almost
Mm.
asphyxiate on my mucus after I ate raw food, because my body was just like cleaning out, but at the same time it's getting more sensitive, and so this
Yeah.
mucus built up, and I was like, oh man. So the body naturally kicked it out. Like I no
Yeah.
longer wanted it. It was not a restriction. It wasn't something that I forced myself to do. It was a
Mhm.
mutual agreement between
Yeah.
me and my body, that my body was like, bro, you got to get this right, or you're just going to keep dealing with us. So honestly, that's the way to me, that's the way to do it, is to,
Yeah.
it's trial and error. And that's what makes knowing thyself even better,
Hmm.
because, knowing thyself might look different than knowing myself, but we do know that certain things work a certain way for us, and the ways that we're supposed to eat. And, you know, I got to a zealous point where I wanted everybody to do,
Mm.
where I was forcing my opinion on people. But after a while, I started to realize, after the self work, that, literally that cliche that, people are where they are, and, it is their journey. And the only thing I can do is be the example and just talk
Yeah.
my truth and share my things,
Hmm.
wherever, or my, whatever I represent. And if it inspires somebody, good, because
Mm.
my job to me is to me first, but
Yeah.
I should love myself so much that whatever I exude or whatever I have to present to people, that they see that if it's something that they resonate with, and something that hits a sense in them or a nerve in them, even better. Because, like you said, we're waking up all these other cells that are like, oh, okay, like, hold
Mm.
up, something ain't right, and then all the
Yeah.
other dead cells, we know they just have to get taken out and regenerated. That's just the way the body works. Nobody
That's it.
wants
That's the cycle.
dis-ease
It's
in their body.
cyclical nature. It's a
Yeah.
cyclical nature of Earth, and we're made up of that Earth, in
Yep.
the densest form, or the densest elements, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is what we are, is with that Earth, right?
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
couple of quick fire questions.
Mm-hmm.
You ready? Okay.
Yep. I'm
So,
ready.
right now, what's your favorite juice to make right now?
Favorite juice right now would
Yeah.
be pineapple, orange, and lemon right
Oh,
now. And I just had it for the first time not long ago. I'm actually
okay.
having pineapple and orange right
I'm gonna
now,
make
but
that tomorrow.
yeah, it's really good. And watermelon is, let me take that back. Watermelon's first, always, and then my second would be the pineapple and orange and lime or lemon.
Got it. Okay. What's your favorite raw meal to make and eat
Favorite
right now?
are nori wraps. I
Yeah.
laughed a lot. Like those are my
So
absolute
like the
favorite.
fatties?
Yeah, the fatties. Like I'm like where I'm like a watery person anyway. Like everything that
Yeah.
has to do with water, even the like seaweeds and things
Oh, I
like
love
that. Like I
seaweed.
love, and even as a person that ate meat, I loved seafood and everything. But
Hmm.
when I gave that up, there's other things that I had to be creative to be able to do. But nori is one
Hmm.
of those things that I absolutely love, and I like anything in a package that I can pick up and eat with my hands. It's just
Yeah.
like
Just that
like a
tactile
burrito,
kind
or
of
yeah,
connection.
yeah.
I saw you had an incredible library. What book are you reading or about to read right now?
Oh,
Oh,
I jump books a lot.
yeah.
Um, but the one that I was reading last was the connection between astrology and religion. It was a really,
Oh,
really. I actually finished that one, and actually like kind of lines up to what is even going on right now. So it was really nice to be able to read that one.
mm.
And then there's another one. What's the other one? I look at so many books, but that's the one that sticks out. That's the one that that sticks out the most, and then
Cool.
a lot of mythology. I like a lot of mythology too. So
Oh, I love it too. I love it too. Okay, and when is the next for you? When is the next dry fast? I know that probably goes in with your week anyway, but when's the
oh,
next extended one? Do you
yeah,
feel one coming up, or is it just going to be a right?
I feel like making that change to being all liquid. I'm not gonna lie. Like since
Yeah.
I've started eating, my body is not like the same reason we were talking about, like how we know it's time to transition. Well, I
Yeah.
went back to eating to see how my body would like it, and
Yeah.
it wears me out. Like I was like sleeping like a baby. Like when I say sleeping like a baby, I was like sleeping all day long. Like,
Yeah.
oh crap! Like I can't be doing this. Like, and I started stinking
Exactly.
again. I hate that.
Oh.
Oh, my armpits! I didn't smell my armpits for months.
Well, that's what happens when you're
Months.
clean, right? Is that, no
Yes.
smell needs to get created because,
Yes.
it's just not there, right? You're not detoxing anything. You're already clean inside. And
It's so crazy. And I was
oh,
like
it's so
smelling
funny.
myself really kind of going through that. That was one of the determining factors. Like, oh yeah, this food thing is way
Yeah.
overrated. Like, this is not happening to me. I was like, I'm going back ASAP. So,
I've done that like
uh,
every time I've done a dry fast, like a long weekend dry fast, and I've been like, I just want to see what my body will do and how my body will respond. So let's do this amount of time on like juices, and let's get back onto some solid food, and then let's just see what my body does. Then every time my body's like, why? What do you need more contrast before you make the choice not to do this
right,
again?
right.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
So,
everything. I mean,
oh,
everything changes. It really does. Like,
yeah,
I do not
yeah.
like being dense at all. People can call me skinny, whatever they want to call me, but I
Well, your
would
body
much
will
rather
catch up as
be.
well, right? Like
Yeah,
Ellie Tom
absolutely.
says that. He's
Yeah, and
like,
it takes
you know,
time. It takes
yeah,
time, but people don't
the
realize that.
muscle will
But
build and
yeah,
it'll like you'll pack out in different ways. And it's not that you're skinny; it's that your body is just kind of like it's shedded
yeah,
what it's been storing, right? That's kind of it.
absolutely.
It's
I
shedding
call
what's
it
being
light.
stored.
We're
Yeah, yeah,
light.
yeah.
But even
That's
then,
it.
like you said, the body is getting
Yeah.
back to the childlike state.
Yes.
That's how you get to the kingdom, right? Is that what all the religions say? Is the
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to become reborn, one has to be like a child. Well, children didn't
Mm-hmm.
eat. Children only ate when
Yeah.
we forced it upon them. They were liquidarians. They drank milk.
Yeah.
They drank the amniotic fluid.
Yeah.
So anything
That's
outside of that.
and that's exactly what you're saying here as well, is that, it's, emptying yourself so that you are just filled with this light, you are that child again, and then the mother, the divine mother, Pachamama, she
Hmm.
feeds you, right? And she fills you with the light that you need, that you wish for, right? And it
Hmm.
just draws in like this beautiful, delicious relationship that's just so sovereign, right? In
Hmm.
its own way, but so connected, right?
Absolutely. Hmm.
So we've got the next pranic retreat coming up on the 8th of July,
Yep.
and we're doing, and I think you're going to be there, is that right? It's an online retreat, but are you going to be popping in at any point, or are you going to,
I'm not
because what I
sure.
know, yeah,
I think that's the one he was talking about
yeah.
doing the little classes and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it's
Right.
going to be
So,
different this time. Normally, it's just kind of like you're in it. You're doing a 3.5 day dry fast, and it's kind of like you're doing that or you're not doing that, and it's
mhm,
But this time, we are doing it as a drop in is welcome. Experience the pranic family, kind of the holisticness of
mhm,
just being connected to the heart and to spirituality. But that's when I know of the next kind of group. Um, Wholeness retreat, whatever you want to call it, breatharian weekend,
wholeness. Yeah, I
wholeness,
like that.
wholeness. Yeah.
That's exactly
So,
what it is.
it is wholeness, lightness.
Yeah.
That's going to be on the 8th of July. You can find the link in my bio because that's just on pranicfamily.com for anyone watching if you're intrigued in that. And, Perry, if you are going to be there for any part of it, it would be so amazing to see you again because your satsang on surrender was
Hmm.
just, it was just pow,
Thank
it
you.
was so deeply moving, so deeply humbling, and so resonant for everyone that was doing that weekend last time.
Hmm.
It struck a chord. It sang right to our inner harmonies. So
Good.
thank you.
Oh, you're
I
very welcome.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you as well for spending this time with me today. And
Yeah. Thanks for
yeah,
putting this together so we could chat
yeah.
again. So I'm sure it'll be
Yeah.
another one of many. I'm sure we'll fit some more in there,
Yeah. And
here and there. So.
is there anything that you want to share with anyone? I know you say that you don't necessarily have anything planned up for events or anything like that, but is there
hmm
anything that you feel like you want to share with anyone before you say,
Yeah, like
Mwah.
I'm definitely a person of service. So
Yeah.
anybody out there that just needs somebody to talk to, or maybe just a little guidance to help you on your way to knowing, knowing you. And I always want to reflect the power in other people. Not that I'm a leader
Mm,
or anything, and people might see me as that, but my job is to reflect your power back to you as I
oh,
do it for me.
honey,
So
and your mirror is so crystal clear,
thank
right?
you.
That's the
Yeah,
beauty of what it is that you can offer. It's just your
yeah,
mirror is
yeah,
so clear, right?
absolutely. And I
Yeah.
want people to feel like I want people to know that they can hit me up,
Yeah.
and talk to me like a regular person. I'm not one of the, I'm not some, person with a million fall, like I'm a down to earth person, very approachable. Hit me up. I'm here to help
Mm,
you.
yeah.
And, I don't charge for anything. I just let mama
Mm.
take care of me. That's what she's told me to do.
Yeah.
And as long as I trust her, I always say I'm a trust fund baby, because
Yeah.
she
I
takes
love
care of
that.
me and I help her children. And when they need help, it's not
Yeah.
my thing to take from somebody. Like if there's a
Mm,
barter or a donation, that's fine. But anything that I put out for free because it was free to me. And so
yeah.
I'm never
That's
going
so
to charge
sacred.
anybody for that. So yeah, hit me up.
Mm,
I love
yeah.
helping people. I love sharing recipes, and yeah, that's about it. Like if you want
Yeah.
somebody to come show you how to do it, I could come to you if it's possible and show you how to do it, and or whatever. I might try to do some.
What?
There's a lot of things I want to do, but just going through the flow of things,
Yeah.
they'll start
That's
happening.
the
But
way to be though, isn't it? It's just
yeah,
be in the flow and then it'll start to ground and start to manifest when it's meant to, when the vibration and the frequency is just
yeah,
right. So
yeah,
I think I presume most people are probably already know you because you hosted this, so thank you. But if you don't know Plant Master P33 on Instagram, the
yeah.
wonderful, gorgeous Perry, hit him up on Instagram. Pop a
Yes,
little like on there and a follow. Watch some of his reels, some of his juices, some of his meals. Read the posts because they are just phenomenal. They are so nourishing, so colorful, and just so real as well.
thank you.
And without any pretense, without any agenda, it is just pure love, created and expressed in the art form that is you, Perry.
Yeah,
So
thank you. I
from my
appreciate that,
heart to
Alice.
yours, thank you so much.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And thank you. And everybody go follow Alice too, because she's just as wonderful as I am and has just as much to offer. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
And I'm going to check out your library again. I was
Yeah.
watching those stories. I'm going to check out those libraries. I was like, I got the ISIS manuscripts on there. That's probably going to be my next
hmm
book to read. I've just finished up the Coming to the Holy Grail, which is pretty good. But yeah, I'm going to look up. I took a picture of one of them on there, so I'm going to see which one that is and get that for my library as well. So
Heck yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
much love to you, brother.
Much
Thank you
love.
so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mwah.
Thank you. And I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, yes, you
All right.
will.
See ya.
Bye for now, everyone. Lots of love.
Bye.